Property line living. Question. Did it snow recently where you live? Most likely you've been hit by either heavy snow, piles of leaves, or other needs to clean up around the yard. In the past week, I've received more emails, texts, and messages on Facebook and elsewhere about property line living than any reference I've written about in a long time. Friends have been letting me know they're valiantly living the principle from my book, The Promise of Service. As we celebrate holidays and so forth, may we continue to see others around us and consider doing away with property line living. Here's a segment from the book, The Promise to the One, starting at page 117. I hope it makes you smile and think. Maybe read to family and share with friends, and then serve. Chapter 7, Service. One promises much to avoid giving little. Luc de Capler. In suburbia, there's a phenomenon that occurs with each and every season. I call it property line living. When it snows in the winter, I look outside after 9 a.m. and I can see who's on my team and who's not. One neighbor usually has shoveled his driveway, walkway, and steps, and then there's the sidewalk, which is shoveled exactly to my property line. I glance over at the other neighbor's home and see the snow piling up. I know both neighbors have kids capable of doing the shoveling. Both are able-bodied families that can do whatever they want with their property and their snow. Yet, I've found it fascinating what happens each time I'm the first one out to shovel, before any neighbors, as to the feeling I experience inside. It's a battle within. Usually I'm in a hurry to get my driveway, walkway, steps, and sidewalk portion cleared. If I stop at the property lines, I feel physically sick about it. I feel I've somehow let my neighbors and community down. Those days when my schedule calls or I'm late for a flight, I rush off having done only my property. And then there are the days when no one knows my schedule, whether I have a flight out or not, when I could easily take as much time as I want to just do my own property snow removal or help the neighbors out a little. If I have the time and there's nothing else to rush off to, I'm still not sure when, where, or why I made this promise, but I shovel beyond the property lines. After clearing my own snow-covered responsibilities, I work my way to one neighbor or the other's sidewalk portion. Eventually, I clear their smaller driveways and steps. Rarely have I been caught in this act of service, and only once that I recall in 10 years has either of them said anything publicly about it. The magic snow removal fairy is a simple promise, but a promise indeed. It's more for my own peace of mind and sense of community than anything else. The concept and perception that we are in property line living country doesn't resonate with my spirit. So I make it a point to smash that whole notion to bits and create my own version of being a neighbor. When I'm shoveling, especially during the winters we've had of late, I feel complete joy and gratitude about the water that must be filling the reservoirs in our mountains, the snow falling that'll attract visitors to our beautiful state, and the exercise it is for my body to be outdoors, to enjoy a nice audiobook, classical music, a TED Talk, or my religious leaders speak in conference. This fills my soul. Service is a major part of the promise and should be a top priority in your living the promise lifestyle. Whether it's shoveling your neighbor's snow in the dead of winter, raking their leaves in the fall, or sweeping the water away as spring makes its way to the gutters, there is service all around us that needs not be divided by property lines. The world is divided in its view of others. So often we stand in our place, seeing suffering on the news or challenges others face, and we feel that we can only do so much. So instead of sending a check to the orphans who are starving, we turn the channel to escape our sadness and find a place to laugh. I'm guilty of this, and even have served as the person to create the escape and laughter. I'm grateful to have this gift of making others smile and forget their worries. And at the same time, I feel this responsibility to serve whenever and wherever possible as much as I can. Perhaps this is why property line divisions and connection resonates to such an extent for me. If I can't change the world over there, at least I can serve the world right here. The promise of service is active helpfulness. It is getting involved, lifting the downtrodden, and even giving to those who aren't in need, such as my neighbors, just because serving lifts your own spirit and brings you joy. The question is, do you find ways to serve? And if so, how often? If service isn't a habit in your promised lifestyle, then what are you doing with your life? I've never served another and thought, well, that was a waste of time. I've certainly felt, well, they didn't appreciate that, or I'm sure they could have done that themselves, but I do the service mostly because I promised to serve.